The rain tapped softly against the window panes of Clarence House as the letter sat on the polished oak desk, cream-colored, embossed, anonymous. Harry stared at it for what felt like an hour. His heart beat to the rhythm of secrets. He had heard whispers all his life, murmurs of ginger hair and blue eyes, of polo matches and unspoken glances. Yet nothing prepared him for this moment. The envelope was unsealed but untouched, as if opening it meant crossing into another life. Across the room, the fire crackled, its glow dancing upon the framed photos. His mother's smile, his father's distant stare. A single thought cut through the silence like a blade. What if everything I believed was a lie? The seal breaks with a soft tear, and the world seems to stop breathing. Inside, a single sheet, neatly folded, carrying the quiet authority of truth. Harry unfolds it, his hands steady now, as if part of him already knew. The letter isn't official. No crest, no signature, just words written in a hand that trembles with both guilt and tenderness. The message is short, devastatingly so. For years they kept you from knowing. But you deserve the truth. The test results confirm what many have whispered. You are not your father's son. The room tilts slightly. The firelight flickers. Outside, thunder rolls like a warning. In that moment, the walls of the House of Windsor echo, with a truth long buried beneath ceremony and silence. The air thickens. Harry sits back, the paper falling to his lap. His thoughts flash to Diana, her laughter, her defiance, the way she shielded him from the cold machinery of the monarchy. Could she have known? The whispers of the past, of Captain James Hewitt, of red hair and royal denial, all crash together like broken glass. He wants to scream, but the weight of history presses against his throat. His phone buzzes softly. A message from Meghan lights the screen. "Are you okay?" He stares at it, unable to respond. Somewhere deep within the palace, the ghost of truth stirs, and the walls seem to listen. Harry rises abruptly, the chair scraping the wooden floor. He walks to the window, pressing a hand against the cold glass. Somewhere beyond the palace gates lies freedom. But tonight he is chained by bloodlines. He recalls his mother's last interview, her cryptic words about forces and truths too dangerous to speak. The letter burns in his hand now. Part of him wants to destroy it. Part of him needs to see where it leads. Behind him, the fire collapses into embers. In the dim reflection of the window, he barely recognizes the man staring back. The clock strikes midnight. The letter lies on the desk, now folded neatly, beside a framed photograph of Diana. Harry whispers into the quiet, as if she might still be listening. "Did you know?" The words hang in the air, swallowed by the storm. Somewhere, he imagines her answer, gentle, sorrowful, inevitable. He turns toward the door. Tomorrow, the truth will demand witnesses. But tonight, he allows himself a single moment of silence. The calm before the royal tempest. Morning breaks over London with the cruel brightness that follows sleepless nights. Harry hasn't moved much. The letter still lies before him, now joined by a new message on his encrypted email. "Meet me where your mother once found peace." His pulse quickens. He knows the place. Althorpe, the Spencer estate. He had sworn never to return without reason, but this feels ordained. As he packs a small bag, the silence of Clarence House feels heavier than ever, as if unseen eyes are watching. Through the window, two black cars idle too long by the gates. He draws the curtains. The monarchy has always buried truth beneath duty. But this time, the truth has claws. The drive to Althorpe is silent, except for the rhythmic wipers slicing through mist. The countryside rolls by, damp and gray. In the distance, the gates of the Spencer estate loom, wrought iron, glistening with rain. Harry lowers his window to show his credentials, and for a moment, he sees a flash of red hair in the guard's hut mirror, a reflection that isn't his own. Inside the grounds, a figure waits beneath an umbrella. As he steps out, The air feels different. Charged, watchful. The woman removes her hood. It's Lady Sarah McCorquodale, Diana's sister, the aunt he hasn't seen in years. "You got my message," she says softly, "and you deserve to know who sent the test." They walk through the gardens toward the lake where Diana rests. The air smells of wet earth and memory. Lady Sarah's voice trembles as she speaks. "Your mother feared this day would come. She left instructions, in case you ever questioned." She hands him a folder sealed with wax. The Spencer crest faintly visible. Inside, photographs, medical notes, and a single envelope marked confidential. 1995. Harry's hands tremble as he recognizes one of the names, Dr. J. Hewitt. The letters swirl before his eyes. Lady Sarah continues. "She took precautions. They tried to bury it, but she kept the proof." The lake ripples behind them, disturbed by unseen wind. Inside Althorpe's library, the smell of paper and cedar fills the air. Harry spreads the contents across a vast oak table. Test results, photos, and hand-written notes. One envelope stands out, yellowed, addressed in Diana's unmistakable handwriting. For Harry, when the time comes, he opens it carefully. Her words read like a confession and a prophecy. "If you're reading this, they have succeeded in keeping you from the truth. But you must know, love, the truth is not your enemy. It's the Crown's." His throat tightens. Lady Sarah watches, silent, tears glimmering. The rain outside turns to hail, sharp, relentless, echoing the storm within. A creak interrupts the silence. The library door eases open. A man in a dark suit enters, rain dripping from his coat. "Your Royal Highness," he says, voice flat. "We need to retrieve certain documents that belong to the Crown." His badge gleams. Royal Protection Service. Lady Sarah steps forward, defiant. "This is family business," she snaps. The agent's gaze never leaves Harry. Not anymore. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then, Harry gathers the papers and slides them into his bag. "If the truth belongs to anyone," he says quietly, "it belongs to her." The man's radio crackles. Somewhere, an order has already been given. The storm outside answers with thunder. Rain follows Prince Edmund back to London, as if the storm refuses to leave him. In the back seat of the armored car, he replays Lady Seraphine's words again and again. "The truth is not your enemy. It's the Crown's." His phone buzzes with restricted calls, ignored by the time he reaches the gates of St. Albans Palace. The world has already changed. Guards avoid his gaze. Whispers trail behind him like ghosts. Inside his suite, he finds a note slipped under the door. "Burn what you took. They're coming." He looks up sharply. The lights flicker. For the first time in his life, Edmund feels hunted inside his own home. He locks the door and empties the satchel onto his desk. Letters, photos, and that final note written in his mother's hand. He stares at her words. The ink faded but resolute. The room hums with low, electric tension. He knows what must come next. Proof. He opens his laptop, connecting through an encrypted channel to an old ally, former palace archivist, now exiled historian Dr. Simon Hale. Simon Edmund whispers, "I need verification on these documents." Quietly. On the other end, Simon hesitates. "You have no idea what they did to bury this, do you?" The connection cuts. Edmund stares at the dark screen. The silence feels like surveillance. Hours later, a coded email arrives. "Meet me at the archive, midnight. Come alone." The words chill him. The archive lies beneath Westminster's old crypts, sealed since the reign of his grandfather. That night, Edmund slips past the guards through the servants' passage, the air thick with dust and secrecy. He descends the spiraling stairs, torchlight bouncing off stone. The further he goes, the colder it gets, and the more he feels her presence. At the bottom, a single door waits, carved with the Spencerian lion crest. Simon is there, older, grayer, trembling. "Your mother trusted me once," he murmurs. "He couldn't destroy what she left." Inside the archive, shelves tower like cathedrals of forgotten history. Simon leads him to a locked cabinet. "This is what they hid," he says, unlocking it. Inside, DNA test results, sealed orders, and one envelope stamped with the sigil of the late king, Richard Forthur. The report inside is damning. The paternity of infant E listed as non-congruent with royal line. Edmund's breath catches. His world fractures. "Who else knows?" he asks. Simon's reply is a whisper. "Only those who ordered the cover-up, and they will protect it at any cost." A sound echoes down the corridor. Footsteps, deliberate, closing in. The door bursts open. 2 royal security officers flood the chamber, flashlights slicing through dust. "Step away from the documents," one commands. Simon raises his hands, but Edmund grabs the folder and runs deeper into the tunnels. Shots echo. Rubber. Not lethal, but close. He ducks behind pillars, heart pounding. The folder presses against his chest like a second heartbeat. Simon's voice cries out behind him, and then silence. Edmund doesn't look back. He finds a rusted service hatch and climbs, emerging into the cold midnight rain above the Thames. For the first time, the prince realizes he is no longer just uncovering a secret. He is now the secret they must erase. Dawn creeps over London like smoke. News networks hum with whispers. Unconfirmed breach at the Royal Archive. The palace denies everything, but the leak has already begun. Edmund hides in a riverside safe house once owned by his mother's charity. Exhaustion wraps him like lead, yet his mind burns with strategy. On the table before him lie the documents. Fragments of identity, proof of betrayal. He knows the crown will not let this stand. His phone vibrates, an unknown number. "They're tracking you through the motorcade cameras. Leave, now." He looks out the window just as a convoy turns the corner, engines growling like distant thunder. He escapes through the back alley, disappearing into the tangle of London's old lanes. Every camera, every drone feels like a gaze from the crown itself. At a cafe near Covent Garden, he meets a woman in plain clothes. Elena Moreau, 34, an investigative journalist once blacklisted for reporting on palace finances. "You're in danger, Your Highness," she says, eyes sharp but kind. "But if you want this story to survive, it needs daylight." Edmund hesitates. Trusting her could expose everything. Yet as he studies her calm resolve, he senses something his life has long lacked. Conviction without fear. "Then we tell it," he whispers. Every last word. That evening they retreat to an underground newsroom operated by dissident journalists. Screens flicker with intercepted palace feeds, encrypted documents, and data leaks. Elena's team, coders, ex-reporters, whistleblowers, swarm around the evidence like archaeologists unearthing a buried empire. This is generational," one murmurs. "They falsified bloodlines, inheritance, even coronation documents." Edmund watches the story of his life unravel across glowing monitors. "They made me a symbol," he says quietly, "but not a son." Elena meets his gaze. "Then let's make you human again." The air hums with purpose and danger. Palace crisis meetings ignite like wildfires. Inside St. Albans, ministers speak in coded language. Containment, credibility, national stability. The Queen's chief advisor, Lord Pembroke, 71, orders a total media blackout. "This cannot reach the Commonwealth," he growls. But it's already too late. Someone inside the palace leaks a photograph of Edmund with the folder. It spreads across the world before dawn. Headlines scream, "Royal bloodline questioned. Panic ripples through governments, markets, faiths. Pembroke stares at the photograph in disbelief, whispering to himself, "The monarchy survives on illusion. And now the mirror is cracking." Night falls again. Edmund and Elena drive north under cover of darkness, heading for the border. Behind them, the capital blazes with controversy. "If we cross into Scotland, I have allies who can shield us," she says. Edmund glances at her, then at the folder resting in his lap. "It's not just my life anymore," he murmurs. "It's the soul of the crown." A sudden flash of headlights behind. Unmarked cars closing fast. Elena swerves off the main road, tires skidding across wet gravel. The sound of engines grows nearer, relentless. As they reach the edge of a forest road, she kills the lights. "We run," she whispers. The forest swallows the night. Rain drips from the pines, and each breath Edmund takes feels like betrayal. Loud, heavy, alive. Behind them, dogs bark, radios crackle, and the metallic pulse of drones hums through the branches. Elena grips his arm. "They won't stop," she whispers. He nods, clutching the folder against his chest. Through the trees, faint lights flicker. Cottages from a forgotten village, abandoned since the flood years. They find refuge inside a chapel stripped of faith and stone saints. As dawn bleeds into gray, Edmund kneels before the altar, the folder open. "If truth makes me enemy," he murmurs, "then so be it. I will not die alive." By mid-morning, the world has turned feverish. Global news networks play grainy clips of Edmund's escape. Some call him a fraud, others a martyr. In London, Lord Pembroke orders Operation Regain to retrieve or silence the prince before the truth destabilizes the realm. Across encrypted channels, allies begin to emerge. A minister in exile, a bishop sympathetic to Diana's memory, and common citizens flooding the web with one phrase, "Let him speak." Elena watches the movement spread, eyes wide. "You've become their symbol," she says. Edmund shakes his head. "Symbols burn easily. We need something that cannot." He opens the folder again. Inside lies one untouched envelope, marked "For the World." Night falls once more. The rain stops. A hush descends over the forest, the kind of silence that comes before arrival. A spotlight cuts through the trees. Prince Edmund. A voice bellows through a loudspeaker. "Surrender now. You will not be harmed." The words echo hollowly, rehearsed, unreal. Elena turns to him, fear and defiance battling in her eyes. "They're lying." He nods slowly. "They always do." He stuffs the envelope into her jacket. "If they take me, you get this out." She grips his hand. The roar of engines drowns their breath. He steps forward into the light, unarmed, unafraid. The hunted prince walking toward his hunters. The agents surround him. Black visors gleaming, rifles steady. "On your knees," one shouts. Edmund raises his hands but does not kneel. The lead officer hesitates. The sight of the prince unbroken, haloed by mist, stirs something human even in trained obedience. "You don't understand," Edmund says calmly. "The lie you serve will destroy you." A gun cocks. A drone hovers. Somewhere, a camera streams the moment live before the signal cuts to static. Elena watches from the trees, tears blurring her vision. The gunshot that follows is not lethal, but staged. Smoke, confusion, silence. When the mist clears, Edmund is gone. Weeks later, the monarchy issues a statement. Prince Edmund perished resisting arrest. No body is shown. No proof offered. Yet across the world, footage emerges. A fleeting image of a man resembling Edmund crossing the border into Norway, his hood drawn low, his stride unmistakable. Elena releases the final envelope online. The the truth unredacted, the scandal irrefutable. The crown denies it all, but the public no longer believes. Somewhere in a northern cottage, a fire burns low. A man sits before it, reading his mother's letter once more. Truth is eternal, it says. But crowns are not. He closes his eyes, not in defeat, but in peace. Winter descends on London like an uninvited judge. The palace gates, once crowded with admirers, now stand before protesters wrapped in scarves and conviction. Placards flicker under torchlight. No more lies. Truth for Albion. Inside the walls, silence reigns. The Queen has not spoken in weeks. Ministers resign one by one. What began as rumor has become revolution of thought. Across televisions and phones, the face of Prince Edmund, missing, presumed dead, becomes a banner for conscience. In pubs and classrooms, citizens whisper a single question that no law can silence. What is a crown without truth? In a secure council chamber, Lord Pembroke faces the Queen and her remaining advisors. The walls feel closer than ever. The air brittle with denial. We cannot govern on ghosts. Pembroke neuters. Either the prince is alive or the monarchy is not. The Queen's gaze drifts toward the portrait of her late son, the man she once called heir. He was never mine to keep, she whispers. Outside, bells toll from Westminster, not for death, but for reckoning. For the first time in generations, Parliament moves to debate the sovereignty of truth itself. The ancient order begins to tremble. Across the North Sea, in a remote Norwegian harbor, a fisherman offers shelter to a hooded traveler. The man thanks him in quiet English and helps mend the nets at dawn. Rumors spread of a stranger who reads by candlelight and speaks kindly to children. One evening, as the wind howls over the fjord, the man removes a worn crest from his pocket and drops it into the tide. The metal vanishes beneath the waves. He smiles, not as a prince in exile, but as a man finally unburdened. Behind him, northern lights ignite the sky, painting freedom in green fire. Back in Albion, Elena Moreau becomes the reluctant steward of his legend. Journalists, historians, and even priests seek her testimony. She publishes The Lion and the Lie, a chronicle of the hidden bloodlines and the courage that unmade them. Within days, the book is translated into 40 languages. Children quote it in classrooms. Artists paint murals of Edmund walking into light. Yet Elena knows the cost. In every interview, she ends the same way. Truth is not rebellion, it's return. Outside her window, the city's bells ring midnight. The age of silence is over. Months later, Parliament convenes in a hall draped not with royal banners, but with plain white cloth. The Queen abdicates in a single sentence. May truth, not lineage, guide Albion. Outside, the crowd falls silent, then erupts, not in scorn, but relief. A new charter is signed, declaring the monarchy ceremonial and the people sovereign. In a remote cottage far away, Edmund hears the news on an old radio. He closes his eyes, breathes the salt air, and whispers to no one. At last, she is free. The broadcast fades into waves, and the world moves forward, crowned by honesty, not blood. Years have passed since the crown bowed to the people. London no longer wakes to trumpet calls, but to the sound of open markets and unguarded laughter. Statues once cast in gold now stand in bronze, their inscriptions rewritten in plain language. On the anniversary of the abdication, citizens gather in the new Plaza of Truth. A child asks her mother who the man in the mural is, the one walking into sunlight with papers in his hand. That, she says softly, is the prince who taught us that silence is the costliest lie. The child nods, not yet knowing that history is only ever as honest as its tellers. At the new National Archive, Elena Moreau walks the halls where once only royals could tread. School children trail behind her, eyes wide at the displays of declassified letters, photographs, and the restored charter of Albion. Truth, she tells them, is a living thing. It survives only when fed. A boy raises his hand. Did Prince Edmund ever come back? Elena smiles faintly. Perhaps he never left. Perhaps he became the voice that asks questions like yours. Outside, snow begins to fall again, soft and unthreatening. A quiet benediction over a nation reborn. Far to the north, in a coastal hamlet where no one asks names, an aging man walks the shoreline each dawn. Fishermen greet him as Edward, unaware or unwilling to say otherwise. He carries a journal bound in leather, its pages filled with sketches of faces, waves, and words that have outlived kingdoms. Sometimes he writes a single sentence before closing the book. I was born of silence and became its undoing. When the tide rises, he leaves the journal on a rock for the sea to read. Some evenings, villagers swear the northern lights answer in green fire. In the capital, a memorial service honors the era of illumination. Bells toll not for loss but remembrance. Former courtiers stand beside factory workers, nobles beside poets. Lord Pembroke, now frail, approaches the podium. We thought truth could be managed, he confesses, voice trembling. But truth manages us. The hall falls silent. For the first time in his long life, he smiles without fear. Outside, candles float down the Thames like tiny suns, their reflections merging until the river itself glows, an unbroken current of light. At midnight, Elena returns alone to the Plaza of Truth. The city sleeps under silver moonlight. She kneels before the mural and places a small lantern at its base. Its flame flickers, reflected in Edmund's painted eyes. You kept your promise, she whispers. The wind rises, carrying snowflakes that swirl around her like ash and stars. Somewhere in the north, a man by the sea looks up at the same moon and smiles, unaware that his name has become a prayer. The screen fades to black. Then, in silence, words appear. Truth is the crown no one can take.